Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Vibing With Sleezy, the podcast. This is episode 14. And yes, we have made it to 14 episodes. And when I say we, I mean me. So yes, Vibing With Sleezy has been great so far. I've really enjoyed this journey. After 2.5 months, 800 downloads, 4 continents. I mean, I'm very blessed. I'm very thankful. I've really tried to work hard at this by researching, putting in the goals, putting in, anything I can for this. And I just really care about this podcast a lot. I got a lot of passion for it, and I appreciate everyone's support, everyone's love. 5-star reviews on Apple. Already have 7. Definitely put in an Apple review for me for the podcast if you love it. Give me some fan mail anytime. I always love reading that. Any support, any messages. So I just want to thank everybody for listening, everybody supporting. I just really am excited to see where this journey can go. Before I introduce my guests, I had some exciting things that happened today. A company, which I'm not going to share their info on the podcast, but I will here probably and eventually. But basically, they asked me to advise them on doing a podcast of their own and a YouTube channel. And I thought it was an honor. I thought it was super cool. Went in there today. It was super laid back. We talked about their podcast ideas, what they want to do. They got a real comedic idea, and so I don't want to share it so nobody takes it. But I think they're going to be doing some cool stuff. So I'll definitely be plugging their stuff. I think I'm going to have them on, and we'll talk about their company and everything. But it's an honor. I mean, after 2.5 months, that's pretty cool. Someone asked that. So I'm going to dive into my guest. I'm really excited to have him on here. My guest is Harold Wainwright, and he is a unique guy because this guy not only does photography, but he is a world traveler. And he also is very, very smart. We talk about a lot of things. We hang out a lot with our buddy AJ as well. Shout out to AJ Thomas. I know he'll be listening. But me and Harold, we've always talked about his photography, and he has a knowledge of cameras, photos. We're going to kind of talk about his journey. He's traveled to Japan. I think this episode is going to be really exciting because I think it's going to give a photographers a chance to take some photos and to, maybe start doing the camera journey themselves and travel the world. So, Harold, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you coming. I reached out to you last week, and you said, for sure I'll be on, so I really appreciate it. You were really excited, and I wanted to have you on because I really admire your photography. I've looked at your camera work. I've literally, I think I've said to you now, probably double digits 10 times, submit those photos to a contest. You're talented. You got this. And I think you need to keep pushing with it, man. You really got an eye for the photos. And I was following your pictures that you did in Japan. You posted some throwbacks. How was that journey to Japan?
Well, first want to say I'm blushing real hard. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
No problem.
It's the trip and the journey to Japan was a very meaningful one for me. Mm-hmm. I had a blast. It was the first time I'd ever been abroad solo.
That's awesome.
So by myself, completely on my own, cut off from all support networks.
Reality. Your reality here, yeah.
It was a challenge. I'd never done anything like that. And I knew if I could do something like that, I could do anything.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And so it was really unique. I definitely knew Japan had been on my radar for quite some time.
That's really cool. And why was that? Wow.
Well, honestly, ever since I was a kid, I was very familiar with their cherry blossoms. Mm-hmm. And their culture has always been very unique.
Yeah.
American media definitely reflects and feeds off some Japanese subculture and culture as well.
Yeah.
And so it's always been on my radar as some place that I definitely wanted to check out. And it being also one of the safest countries in the world felt like an easy way to, dip my toe into the waters of traveling by myself.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And did you feel like when you were over there that not only you were learning, how to get around and do everything, but did you feel like you wanted to live there? Like, did you feel that feeling?
So I'm gonna be very biased because I went there during cherry blossom bloom season.
Yeah.
And their streets, their canals, their gardens, which are very big, are full of it. And because of that, it's also spring culturally around the world. It's a time of celebration.
Yeah.
So the atmosphere over there I was spoiled with was absolutely electric.
Oh, it looked like it in your photos.
It was I think it was Taiwan, Thailand, and China's spring break at the time.
Oh shit, that sounds awesome.
And they were doing a lot of traveling over there, so it was it was just a very lively atmosphere.
Yeah.
And it was also a very unique time for me to be there because I was there during basically a very important historical event of Japan, and for half the journey I was completely unaware of it.
Oh, what was it?
So essentially, this was the first time ever in Japanese history that the emperor was abdicating his throne, and his son was going to be enshrined as the new emperor.
Okay.
And over there, culturally, every emperor defines an era. So all that culture, subculture, from music to movies, characterizations, all evolve from this era. So anything that came from like the 1960s and 70s and 50s was called Showa era.
Okay.
And so that was the Showa emperor at the time, and that was so anything that's vintage, they say it's Showa.
Oh.
And so, and what's interesting is, when I got there, I was like cruising the streets of Ginza, Tokyo on a Sunday.
Now, when you say cruising, were you rent a car? Were you on?
No, just on foot. Well, I say cruising because I was zipping around Tokyo subway system, which was the most.
Is it cool?
It's the most intimidating thing I've ever done.
Wow. Have you done a subway in another big city, like in this United States or in Europe?
New York, definitely. Chicago, L trains. I've ridden them in Europe a lot, but there's like an order to it.
Yeah, I've been on a lot of trains in my day and subways, and I'll be honest, I think they're all intimidating. I mean, they all got a method. I mean, it's like, get this token, get this. Oh, you got to get the pass. Or here's the metro station. What stop am I going to? It's hard sometimes to keep track. But I once I learn a subway though, I'm kind of cocky with it. Like if I'm there for a week or something, I'm like, yeah, I'll ride the subway. I know where I'm going.
It's funny you mention that because by the third day I was in Tokyo, I had my little, it's called a Momo pass. It's your little card. You load it up with yen.
Oh, okay.
And they don't carry wallets over there. They carry money pouches, just like they do in Europe.
Oh, shit.
And so, a lot of the currency is coins, and so they carry a money pouch. But I had a wallet, so for like by the third day, you don't want to hold anyone back because we're talking like upwards of 20 million people, in the grander Tokyo metro area.
Yeah.
11 million in Tokyo, like central, I believe. And the maze, thank God for Google Maps.
Yeah.
Led me pretty good. But by the third day, I'm just sitting there slamming my wallet down, zipping through the lines, finding my way to that subway, the specific one you need to go to.
Oh, nice.
But it felt like I was like one of them.
That's awesome, dude. I mean, that's awesome because I mean that's a good feeling when when you start feeling like you can just go anywhere when you're on a trip, even if it's somewhere like in the United States or is somewhere abroad. I mean, when I went to Norway back in 2008, it was the most amazing trip, and I had met so many friends over there. I was visiting friends, and it just was such a great experience because everybody was so nice. But then I started learning the city, and it was fun, kind of like going out with them because I'd be like, "Oh, that's cool. I know where that is. I see." And I was only there for a certain time, so it's like I really like learning places. And when I go to cities, and definitely cities that I go to a lot, I try to learn them like I know Louisville. So like I will say this very confidently: I know every back road in this city. I know this city like the back of my hand. But I have started learning Nashville, which I lived there, Cincinnati, which is like my second home, Indy, which I love going. So all these places, it's fun to learn those different routes and like back roads because it's like, yeah, I might only go there a couple times, but once you kind of like get confident, it makes any experience better when you know where you're going.
Absolutely, it does.
Yeah.
It's especially, Tokyo was very unique. Being able to zip around on the subway system, I still average about 21 miles a day walking.
Whoa.
And it was just such a unique experience.
What shoes did you wear?
Mostly tennis shoes.
Smart.
But that was, I had a couple, trips under my belt at that point, so I learned my lessons.
Oh, I bet.
The hard way.
Any trip you gotta like usually bring 2 pairs of shoes anymore. I mean, we're such a spoiled society that we can just buy as many pairs of shoes as we want, like if we got it, and it's like every time I go on a trip, I'm bringing like 2 pairs of shoes and some sandals, and it's like why? But then it's like, you know what? I like that comfort. I like to change it up. When you were over there, I want to dive in a little bit about the culture as well. We had spoke about this, and I'm trying to remember exactly what you said, but something that we grew up in, generational wise, and it was very important to our youth. I don't know how much you were into it. I feel like majority of our childhood was Pokemon,
right?
Which
on.
Pokemon is super hot now. Again, Pokemon, you're making tons of money on some rare items. Target. Somebody tried to shoot somebody at Target over some Pokemon and sports cards, so now Target can't sell sports or Pokemon cards.
That's terrible.
It's that serious because of the flipping game. Like, I love to flip stuff, of course. People that listen to the show, Mr. E loves to sell them by my eBay, just plugging it. But yeah, go check it out. But anyways, it's one of these deals though with the Pokemon cards. Pokemon's hot, the figurines. I mean, you go to any of these video game stores, it's blowing up, and I really think it's cool that Pokemon is around for another generation. But how big was it over in Japan?
They have an entire district, an entire ward, essentially, dedicated to, anime, gaming, Pokemon, and video games.
That's sick.
Akihabara, I don't know if I even pronounced that correctly, but Akiba is essentially where you find that stuff. And so, suffice it to say, it's massive.
Yeah.
They have, that's the thing. It's a different type of obsession. I've heard dating is hard in Japan. One of the things I like to do with photography is I started off there doing street photography.
Yeah.
And so.
And I noticed that you were taking not only like street photography of like people in the scenes, but you also had some like aerial shots of like things that might have been above you as you were walking the streets. I noticed. I
like to have an observant eye.
Yeah.
And so watching the streets of Tokyo and Kyoto, I noticed how a lot of young men would essentially have an umbrella.
Oh.
And they would try to approach young women and try to hold it for them. As they, walked the streets of Shibuya or Shinjuku, and I saw many guys get rejected.
Wow.
And so, it's a very unique culture. They have a lot of unique dating subculture to it as well. And I don't know if that maybe plays a part in why they're naturally maybe attracted to this obsessional, as we are here, but almost on like it's more over there. I mean, there's a lot of young men over there that, there's actually a phenomenon called hikikomori. I hope I even pronounced that correctly. But it's about, when young Japanese men literally withdraw from society.
Oh my gosh.
And, it's the pressures of being, their parents, put on them for schooling, and which is ruthless.
Being married, starting
a family. If you don't get into a good university, and it's funny because I talked to some college students about this while I was in a bar one night in Tokyo. You're screwed. If you don't get into a good university and your test grades aren't, good, there's your prospects are just not great in life, and there goes your prospects for getting a girlfriend and so forth. So there's
but the thing about that is probably true if they remained in Japan,
right?
But also it also, like, there's a whole nother world. So, like, if that person could escape, they could totally do it maybe somewhere else. But I feel like that is something that is kind of scary to hear, because it's like mentally, we talk about how much, there's so much mental health situations that people are not aware of, and then you hear about this in a culture that people are aware of it. It's really sad. And and I mean, when you say that they kind of withdraw from society, is it almost a thing of like they go missing but they don't, like, they just don't tell anybody? Or is it like, do they still, people just know, oh, he's up there in the mountain, we just don't talk to him?
This is going to be entirely, Japanese style too.
Yeah.
What they do is they literally retreat to their bedroom, and they don't come out. Sometimes they don't even see their parents for years. And I'm talking about some of them up to decades, behind closed doors. They maybe come out once a week, it's in the middle of the night, and they'll walk down to what's called the Family Mart, aka the 7-Eleven, their version, and load up on whatever, drinks, snacks, and so forth. And, their parents might bring meals to the door or so forth, but they literally withdraw completely from society.
Now, let me ask you this. You're saying their parents are still bringing their meals. Maybe there's a friend bringing a meal. Why is that? If they're withdrawing from society, don't they feel like everyone is like betrayed them and hates them, or is it like why are they withdrawing if their parents still care like that?
They're ashamed.
Oh, so it's more of being ashamed. Like they're building the pressure on themselves. It's not like their parents really pressure them. Literally, it's more of they feel it just from what they're feeling what they should have hopefully done or something for their family.
It can be a stifling culture. Okay. Over there. I think they feel pressure from themselves, from their parents, from their peers, their teachers, their bosses especially. One thing that's very, very popular in Japan is they have the term a salary man, where you go and you work for a company, for life, essentially, and you work your way up the corporate ladder.
Uh-huh.
But what's really difficult about it is they put in insane amount of hours. If you are a Japanese worker, you're expected to work 70, 80, 90 hours a week.
Wow.
So they go in at 7 a.m., they leave at 7 p.m., and I watch them and file out like ants.
Yeah.
In Roppongi Hills, a very nice district in area of Tokyo.
And let me interrupt you real quick. This is super cool. That number one, see, this is what's so great about this podcast. This is about photography. Karen, we're going to talk about his Japanese trip where he took photography, but it's like we're talking about Japan now, and this is so interesting. This is great content, but the thing that's amazing about this is not only is it interesting. I also think it's cool that you went to other areas besides just the main. I just went to Tokyo. You kind of explored around Japan, which is cool.
And you say, going back to what you said about knowing a city inside and out. That's what I like to do when I travel and see places. And Tokyo is so massive that essentially you pick an area of the city or ward, because they have it's like a borough of Manhattan.
Let me ask you this. Compare Tokyo to a U.S. city for people that maybe have never been to Tokyo, like comparison-wise. What would you compare Tokyo size-wise? Houston? L.A.? New York? Is Chicago? I mean,
if Houston's the biggest city, by size-wise, why? Because I've heard it takes 2 freaking hours to drive
It's like almost 2 cities in Houston, yeah.
Right. Take that size, maybe a little bit bigger.
Okay.
And combine it with New York and LA's populations. It's that dense, and that's why I'm saying when you're cruising the subway system, you got to know where the hell you're going, because there's a lot of people that are cutting it very close to get to their job, and they can be fired, and lose.
It's
very
so
serious
interesting.
business. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't. Now So here's something interesting. I don't know if I've told you this. I've announced this on a podcast about 5 episodes ago, but I have a pen pal in Japan named Iri Kunishi. We met in middle school through a pen pal program. My social study teacher in 7th grade, Larry Johnson, Mr. Johnson, he introduced the whole class's pen pal program. I'm always was about, as a kid, writing letters to my favorite athlete, musician. I get autographs back. it was like a hobby of mine. And I always loved connecting with people abroad. Like when I was in high school, I was friends with all the foreign exchange students. I'm close with tons of them still to this day because I love exploring and learning cultures. I respect all cultures. I respect all religions. Like, I really think it's cool that we're on this planet and there's so much diversity and so many things we can learn about, because I think everybody's cultures are so important for people to learn and to accept, because yeah, it might be different in our eyes of like the way this country does it, but it's like we got to view it as that's how they've done it, and that's, you know, they're doing well, and that's how we want, you know, it's cool learning that. So with this pen pal, I have now, you know, it takes a while to get the letters and stuff, but we'll write, and, you know, her English is not super great, and I don't really understand some of maybe the grammar, like the Japanese writing, but I've really, like, dove into Google Translate. I really, like, read it, and she's really nice in the letters. She has a son. She's just a single mom with her son, and it's just living with her family, and I think she's the same age as me, 31, but she was so interested about what's going on in America, what's going on with this. So we're both, it was cool that we're both like very interested in each other's culture, and I'm glad I have that. So I think this is super cool, because this just happened pretty much recently, and I think it's super cool that you're talking about Japan and all this, because I still feel like even though her and I shared a lot of gifts and letters like through the years, I still don't know a lot about Japan, and I still I think it's a country that I'm really fascinated about. So I think this is cool. Food wise, what were the options on food that did you expect what you got to eat there?
You know, they had some very interesting culinary adventures. I for sure every day, at least for one meal, ate ramen. I freaking love ramen. I thought I knew what good ramen was here in Louisville, but over there it's an art form.
Yeah.
They've got, you know, chefs that, you know, work their entire lives perfecting, like literally perfecting the broth.
See, that's so cool. Like,
yeah.
that's what's dope about, like, just Japan in general, but also culture. Like focused on the broth. Like, who does that over here? Nobody.
And they have such skilled hands that they literally have like apprentices for like decades, like learning the trade
and see, that's what's cool too. It seems like there's a lot of goals. Like they pick a career, they pick a profession, and they master that shit.
That's true, and that's probably, you know, why a lot of these, you know, younger guys too, they feel this pressure. It's their society and culture. It can be stifling.
Yeah.
And I kind of knew this stuff kind of going in. I was lucky. I had one friend that lived over there, but he was married and had a kid.
Mm-hmm.
It was a young newborn at the time, and so I got to hang out with him 2 days.
That's cool.
It was just for a few hours each day, but you know, he relayed a lot of his experiences on me, and I bounced my ideas off him too. But I wanted to capture that with my camera too.
Mm.
You know, like I wanted to go and see with my observant eye, and that's, you know, and street photography was really big for me at that time, and so I wanted to catch that, see what the streets told me.
That's really cool, because I mean, you got the raw, authentic stuff. That's what it's all about. And I mean, did you feel like the sport of baseball was brought up a lot?
You know,
because baseball is huge in Japan.
It's funny you mention that, because I said earlier that I had talked to some college students in a bar, and it was really funny because it wasn't too long of a trip, but there was just one day where I felt like really homesick.
Yeah. And
jet lag hit me, so like I crashed for like from like 1 o'clock. It was supposed to be just like an hour nap, and I, you know, slept till 8.
Mm-hmm.
And I got really pissed off and upset that I like wasted the day, and I was like, I'm feeling a little homesick. I was like, I gotta find like a pub.
Yeah.
So I need like an Irish pub, and so they have a very famous chain over there called, I think it's called Hub or Hubs.
Oh, that's dope. That's so cool.
And there was one like just like a couple blocks away from basically the hostel I was staying at, hotel, and so I went and dipped in there and it was like all college students.
Yeah.
And I stood out like a sore thumb, clearly from like I did not pack clothes well.
Yeah.
People in Japan dress nice.
Really?
Like, at least in Tokyo, like every young person was dressed trendy and nice, and I felt like just like a chump. So I walked into this bar and like clearly like stood out like a sore thumb in every way. You know, this brown dude had a big beard, because I was like, I'm gonna flex on him. You know?
I feel it. No, dude.
But over there.
But what's that feeling like? So you're walking in, like, I'll be honest, I love popping in and people being like looking at me. That's just me. Like I don't know. I have this like self-confidence about that. But in another country, that would be like, I'll be honest, I would be so excited for that opportunity because I just would want to see the reaction.
The whole bar stopped and looked at me.
Really?
And I was just like, oh my god.
Did you say hi to anybody?
I just kind of smiled, went straight to the bar and was like, give me a Sapporo, whatever. Throw a shot of bourbon inside.
That's sick.
Whiskey and their bourbon is huge.
Oh, Japanese. I've seen Japanese whiskey like at liquor bar, and I've seen Jimmy. Yeah, they basically. Okay, here's a crazy thing. Karen Ichiban, or Ichiban. I guess I always feel like I say it wrong. I love the beer. Yeah. It's one of my favorites. Karen. It's a great brand. I love the logo with the dragon, and it's actually an authentic Japanese beer, and it was distributed by Anheuser-Busch, owned by Anheuser-Busch at one time, but it's now owned by Four Roses. Four Roses owns Karen Ichiban, so when you go to Four Roses, there's actually a tasting room. I don't know if COVID or if Four Roses has changed it up, but when you go in the tasting room, you can see there's some bottles of Karen, and they show off that brand. It's a proud brand to be proud of, because I think it's better than Sapporo. I mean, because it's just a good tasting beer. I actually haven't had it in a while, but what's cool is you can grab 6-packs from Liquor Barn. Sponsor me. But anyway, so yeah, but no, it's just it's cool. So
you'd love it over there because they have open container.
Oh, really?
So like that's what I do is I go to like the Family Mart, which is like on every street corner.
Yeah.
And I get a couple tall boys, brown bag them, and you just walk and enjoy your evening.
Oh, really? Nobody says nothing?
And that's the thing is like over there.
Everybody minds their business.
Well, it's not that. I mean, you can they drink almost like they drink responsibly. Like
nobody's getting crazy.
Like what they do is like no one really.
Or are they getting? Is there anybody going crazy?
So that's yes. Yeah. So what happens is these guys, they work like all day long.
Yeah.
And then they're bought like they have to go afterwards and have food and get drunk with like your colleagues.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, you'll probably score low on your performance reports and you won't get promoted.
Wow.
So these guys go out and they work like 12-hour days, and then they go, and I've seen them like pissed drunk, stumbling around because they had too much to drink because they hadn't eaten all day, working like a dog.
Yeah.
And but they like they totally work really hard, but the open container law was fantastic. They don't really host.
That's super cool. I didn't even know that. That's another thing I'm learning. Because that's a big thing on my show. I want people to learn stuff, and I'm learning stuff.
So apparently having people over to your house over there is like a big deal.
Yeah.
And it makes sense too because they have very limited square footage homes, very tiny apartments. So what they do is they go and they meet everyone out. And so like a lot of people, they get off work and they'll go and like have like a little picnic along the rivers and stuff, and like. So, like I said, it was a very electric atmosphere. So you just go down to the Family Mart, get a couple tall boys, and just walk the streets, and it's just electric.
Let me ask you this: how many people asked you where you're from, or how you doing, or you need help?
A lot of people did. They were very, very friendly. I did practice a little bit of Japanese before I went, so I knew like the basic tourist stuff. You kind of catch on to it.
I respect that. That's really cool.
It was fun. People were very, very kind for the most part, 95% of the time, and they were very helpful. Anyone I approached, I was very kind as well. As long as you're respectful, most people I think abroad, most people are happy to help out.
Oh yeah, I met people in Norway, Sweden, Canada, everywhere I've gone. In Toronto, everybody is so friendly, and it is such a cool city. Like I would move to Toronto in a heartbeat. Like it is such a cool vibe, just because everybody is so helpful. But I always heard in Japanese culture that they were helpful and they're very nice, and I gotta go sometime. I mean, this sounds like an awesome time. So, I'm gonna kind of ask you a few fun questions and see kind of what your answers are. So, what are 5 things that are in Japan that you can't get in America?
Ooh, that's a good one. You can't get ramen like you can over there. So there's one. You can't get the girls.
Yeah.
Over there like you,
yeah.
Over here like you can over there. I don't think you can even get their flavored Kit Kats. Now I think World Market has some, I noticed, but they have an absurd collection of.
And see, Kit Kats are like my favorite candy bar, dude. The mint dark chocolate combo, I could eat 20 of those. I mean, so that definitely has me sold. I mean, Kit Kats, whoo! I fuck with Kit Kats hard.
And I guess the last thing I'd say is you can't get their unique gardens.
Oh, okay.
They're very.
Was not expecting the garden. That's cool. Yeah.
That's the one thing you can really see there that you're not going to find anywhere here in the States.
Upkeep, very nice. I actually was very blessed to go to the botanical gardens out there in Asheville, which is next to the. Going very blank on it. The really large home, like the largest home in the United States, that home in Asheville.
Oh, the
Biltmore, yes.
Yeah.
So their gardens are upkept, so nice, and roses, flowers. I mean, the colors are crazy. How many like bright you see, like yellow, pink, blue. It's a great garden, and I'll be honest. Like I probably should respect and admire plants more. Like I do admire them and respect them, but I need to check them out more. There's so many out there. Like but I've also realized maybe I am starting to become like more of a, hey, what's that plant kind of guy. Like I used to do when I was a kid, but like I'm a big zoo guy, as you know. And when I go around the zoo, I think I've hit an age now where now when I go to zoos, like zoos make shit so interactive, which is dope. But they'll put the little bio about plants now.
Yeah.
And like they'll put like just the name and maybe like the scientific name and then the English name. And I love reading it and checking those out, and I'll look at the plant and then I'll go to the animal exhibit. And the thing that's crazy about it is like I'm like, holy shit, I'm getting old. Like I'm 31 and I'm checking out the plants now. Like I never would have done that. I just would have skipped through. So but I think it's cool because I think I'm starting to, realize like that's just more stuff to learn. Like I'm at this point in life where I have a lot of goals. I'm on an interesting journey right now. I'm just really trying to build this podcast. I'm trying to, continue building my career, do my eBay store, like have a lot of passions. And the one thing is like I just want to continue learning, like, and I definitely want to explore the world and travel more, just like everyone does. But I want to continue learning, and that's what I love doing about this podcast, because I'm learning about people's careers in life. I mean, we haven't even done the photos or the cameras yet, and it's like this is just an interesting how much we're getting an authentic, real feel about what Japan's like. And what's cool too is, I think as well as that. You pretty much, when you go to Japan, it's like you're pretty much trying to figure out where, like, what to do, where to go, like in the certain days and time you got. So you're kind of feeling probably compact, like I want to do this, I want to do that. What were like the top 3? Go back to some of the questions I wanted to ask you. What were like 3 things that you were like, I have to do this, like before you landed?
Basically, the first thing one of the top 3 things that I had to do
Yes.
while I was over there
Mm-hmm.
was I wanted to walk the streets of Shinjuku and Shibuya. So essentially, Shibuya is their Times Square, essentially.
That's awesome.
And coincidentally, where I stayed for the first half of the trip in Tokyo. And I wanted to walk the streets of Shinjuku, which were, a very, just a unique area of town. Think of it like let's just say the red light districts are there and some other shady stuff, but it's a very famous part from movies and cartoons, animes, and all kinds of stuff.
Isn't it interesting that every country pretty much, and even some states we all have different districts. Like you're kind of like we compare a lot of places in different cities to Times Square, of course. You have your red light district, you have your shopping district. It's interesting that all the countries and everything have these different places. Like I know everybody has to live in, of course, but it's like it's just cool that when you go, you're getting something different, but you kind of know what you're expecting as well. Like I'm about to see a bunch of different stuff, but I'm going to this district.
It's how you see the whole. I want to see the whole city. I don't want to see just the pretty parts or the touristy parts.
No, yeah. I want to see it all as well.
I did the same thing in Amsterdam, went and walked around the red light district.
And Oslo, Norway.
I couldn't take photos there.
But when I was in Oslo, Norway, the girls that I visited, they took me down there, like we drove around, and it's just interesting to see, like, it's not like we were participating, but it was interesting to see, like, what was going on. And the thing about it, too, was I thought just, like, they kind of saw that because they lived there. Like, they were like, oh, we got to go to Sweden. They got cheaper beer. We'll go get some candy. Like, I don't want to do the drive. But then they're like, well, we want to show Eric, of course. So I was so pumped. And it's like they get to do that all the time. And then we get to go to Sweden. And then I meet more people there. I just love exploring that. I love checking into cultures. The few countries that I want to go to is like Wales. I want to go to Germany. I want to go to England. I got a friend in Wales, Emma, that I'm really close with. I want to visit. So there's a lot of places I want to check out in Europe, but I just want to explore the world for sure. Do you feel like in Japan, because I'm a big hip hop rap guy, was rap and hip hop played a lot?
Not that
when you were like at the bars and clubs.
Yes and no.
What is the music of choice to like party to? Like, what would be their choice?
Probably EDM. At least the ones that I went to.
Mm-hmm.
But the few times I did go out, that's kind of the vibe I got. The whole day and traveling, it's exhausting. Sometimes at night, you just crash, and sometimes you get in other trouble too.
Yeah.
But I did not get the feeling that there was a big hip hop subculture there.
Yeah.
Or music scene. But I could be very, very wrong about that.
Okay.
They do have a very unique music scene, I'd say. In fact, I want to say that there was a YouTube documentary I saw about rapping or hip hop in Japan, and there were.
No, the reason I ask is because it's such a. I feel like it's the most popular music in the world. I mean, it's my favorite. I'm biased, but I just feel like it's grown so much, and it's interesting to see what countries are listening to. Not only rap and hip hop, but listening to any American music, like rock, different, like all the stuff that we put out. I think
Europe, absolutely.
Oh yeah, Europe for sure. I know that, but it's just like it's cool to hear like what are these countries listening to? Because I feel like American music gets so popular because you see these artists like, oh, I got a platinum plaque from Italy, platinum plaque from Brazil. It's like the music is worldwide, especially with streaming sites, with Spotify. That's why I like with this podcast, it can be played anywhere because the way things stream and network. So I that's why I was curious because it's like I feel like rap is the most popular music in the world, and so I was curious to know if they were really listening to it or not.
What's the one music that's really big over there is this type of like girl and boy band pop.
Oh,
Like
K-pop.
But that's from Korea.
Oh, is that Korea? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
I'm sorry.
okay,
Yes,
but it's
yes.
the same.
Correct
It's
me.
the same
Yes.
thing.
I had no idea.
It's literally the same thing, except the Japanese
Mm.
girls and boy bands and whatever.
That's dope.
I definitely got the feeling that a lot of their media and stuff like that is very heavily controlled.
Mm.
It's definitely the if you can remember like the managers of like the sleazy managers of like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys that
The sleazy managers react. No, just kidding.
But you know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
end up stealing all their clients' money
Yeah.
and so forth. They, there's definitely that vibe over there that it's a little bit more controlled.
Yeah.
I'd say, but I could be wrong.
Mm.
But it's Japan was great. The photography portion of it was just a very fun time. Just the entire culture there was in this mood of celebration.
Yeah.
And I got to document it with my camera, and I was by myself, so it was just it was an eye-opening experience. It was the funnest trip I think I've taken so far, just because I think I was by myself and got to do what I wanted.
That's really cool. I mean, that's cool. You got to explore and you got to really choose what you want. So we'll dive into photography. So to stay on the topic of Japan, so I know you kind of talked about some of the things that you shot and like you wanted to shoot, but did you have some photos? Like I saw some ones that, in my opinion, were iconic. Like I couldn't believe you got those snaps.
Thank you.
I mean, were people telling you where to go to do these photos, or were you just? I know you picked things out naturally. I know you have a great eye, but I'm saying, was there anybody that was like, "Hey, if you hit this area, you're gonna get awesome photos," or was it more of just online research?
It was definitely going over there. I did a ton of research.
Yeah.
I followed leading up to the trip for probably a year and a half. I followed a lot of Japanese local photographers.
Wow.
And so I saw all their shots, where they were in the city. A lot of them take, dusk photos.
This is very impressive. Like so you really research. I mean, following local. I mean,
I felt like I kind of
really
knew.
diving deep.
I felt like I kind of knew the city before I got there.
Wow. Okay.
But that still is that's giving it way too much credit because it's an extremely large and can be an intimidating city to navigate.
Would you try to? I mean, I know you want to go back, of course, but would you ever try to just like start at the top of Japan? Like, I know it's like there's
Yes.
island stuff, but just kind of go and try to hit. Because I feel like you have already gotten the full Japanese experience, but you could go back and like really just not like, I guess weird word not to say conquer, but conquer your own journey through the country and see everything. Like I feel like that would be really cool. For you to
Anytime
document as well.
That's the one thing about traveling is you're never going to see everything you want the first time. And so even though I spent a ton of time, and haven't even talked about Kyoto. I like that city a lot more than Tokyo because it was a little bit slower of a pace. But there's so much to explore there. I think it's the North Island, Hokkaido, all the way down to. I never got a chance to explore Osaka, and then there's another city, Nara, and that's where they have like this entire shrine and deer. Walk up. It's like a very famous shrine with deer.
Wow.
Tons of them, and I'd love to get those photos.
Yeah.
I definitely want to see Japan in different seasons.
Yes.
As much as I love spring and seeing all the cherry blossoms and the blooms and the flowers and the gardens, I think it'd be just as pretty in the fall.
That's such a good point. That's for any trip. A lot of people will go somewhere, and I think I'm guilty of it as well. You'll go somewhere once, maybe. Like, I try to go a lot of places multiple times because I know there's always more to see. But I think a lot of people will go someplace once, see it, and then never think about it again. Like, they'll be like, oh, that was an awesome trip. Like, someone asked, like, oh, I loved it. They'll see it on TV. Oh, I've been there. But it's like, they won't go back because, and I understand it sometimes. It makes sense as well. But it's like, different seasons happen, and I feel like there's so many different things that happen, like events, sporting things change. You have different things to do, and it's like different food, different drinks, like hot chocolates here now. Like just all kinds of places. It's like,
I mean, they were supposed to host
coffees. Like it's like you could try so many different things if you try different seasons.
Absolutely.
And I just feel like that's something us as humans should definitely do more, is try to travel to some of the countries or places we've gone and keep exploring and see it. Like conquering a place, like seeing it all, it's a good feeling. Like
I love it.
I mean, it's a good feeling, not only like accomplishing the things you want to do in your day, but it's a good feeling of being able to say, I did this. Like I love like doing lists. Like, I mean, Amazon and these different websites make tons of profit off of selling like maps where you can do scratch offs. Like, hey, I scratched off, I went here, and then your map will be on your wall and it'll show like, oh, I went to these 10 places. It's so cool. Just print a list off Wikipedia, because Wikipedia is filled with lists, and literally print off like, okay, like for example, I got a list of zoos and aquariums back in my room. I'll mark them off when I go. I also like sports stadiums. You can print off all the baseball, basketball. I mean, Hall of Fame wise, I've been to every Hall of Fame pretty much. Music wise, I've been to a few in Nashville. But sports wise, I mean, I've been to the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto. I've been to Canton, Pro Football Hall of Fame. I've been to Cooperstown, the baseball. So I've tried to see all the main sports. I still need to get to Springfield, Massachusetts, to see the NBA Hall of Fame. Or not the NBA Hall of Fame. It's the Basketball Hall of Fame. It's actually not affiliated with the NBA, but it has NBA players. So shout out to the Basketball Hall of Fame. They just did their introduction. Recipes to Kobe. Kobe just got inducted. Also Tim Duncan, one of the best players of all time, with Kevin Garnett. The next year's class is even bigger. I'm a big fan of Dan Patrick's show, a sports show, and they were talking about how if Robert Horry should be a Hall of Famer. I think he should be. I think it's a lot of debates that are fun to do about Hall of Famers and stuff. But yeah, shout out to the Basketball Hall of Fame. I need to go there one day. I really want to visit it. So, but it's cool just to go and accomplish those lists. So, what are some other places internationally that you travel to?
That I have traveled to?
Yeah.
So, you said you've always wanted to go to Germany.
Yeah.
I love Germany. I try to go to Germany at least once a year.
Okay.
I've been there for Oktoberfest twice. Both were radically different experiences.
Yeah.
Germany is one of those places where it's easy to fly into, flight-wise, because they've got two major airports in Frankfurt and Munich. But it's such when I say diverse, I mean like it's a really big country. There's a lot to see there.
Yeah.
If you like nature, there's a lot to see there. City-wise and town-wise, it's one of those countries that's littered with tons of small towns that you can go and spend a day or two and just chart your own path through an area. I did that the last time I went. I went with a buddy of mine, and we went to Oktoberfest for a couple days in Munich, and then we did a little Bavarian exploration tour. Rode the train through Bavaria and through the Alps of Germany.
Ooh, nice.
And we got off at Garmin. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce it.
Yeah.
My German's not that great. But we got to go up to Zugspitze, which is the tallest mountain in Germany, and see a very famous lake. And then we cruised through the Austrian Alps, stayed in Innsbruck, and then dipped just south of the Italian Alps.
Wow.
Into a small town, rode the train back up through the Alps, and finished 2 more days in Oktoberfest. So there's a lot to do and a lot to explore.
Oh, yeah, that sounds iconic. And I mean, I actually had a really cool experience. I had 3 German girls from Munich stay with me a couple summers ago. We had a blast. It was really a great opportunity. You can see there's a Stein in my glass case that they brought me from the Oktoberfest. Anna brought it to me. So Anna and I, we were together back in the day, but we've remained still like best friends. And it's a really special person in my life. And so it's really cool.
That's my favorite beer hall.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it was just really cool. She brought that and came to visit and brought her 2 friends. So it was just a really iconic trip when they came in. Had a lot of fun. It was cool. Like they wanted to see Panda Express or Panda Express. They wanted to see or go eat at Panda Express, and they wanted to eat at Wendy's. So it was just like it was fun. But you know, they told me a lot about Germany. They brought me a lot of stuff from Germany. I actually have some gin over there too that they brought me. So I think it's an awesome country, and I really want to go visit her and her friends and her family, but also like explore the country as well. There's a lot of places in Europe I just want to see.
Come with me next time.
Shout out! For sure, dude. I'm down. Like I need to get over there. I got friends in Norway that we got a free place to stay. I got a person in Wales. I got a person in Germany. We got places to stay. So I just think it's definitely an opportunity that you know we all have as humans to explore this world. It's just it can be tough. I know financially and situations, but you know, try to explore the world as best you can. That's my advice for everybody. You know, I'm trying to be better about it, and I think everybody should. And I've got to really experience a lot of my life, but there's so much more I want to see. There's so much more I want to absorb. I know Harold does too as well. Harold, what are 3 places that you think you want to go to that you've never been, country-wise?
Definitely. So, like last spring, because of COVID, I had to cancel a trip to the south of France. That was going to be my spring trip. I like to do themed trips.
Wow, that's awesome.
Kind of combine it with, you know, make it seasonally a fun time of the year, whatever.
Wow.
So definitely that's one place that I want to go to is the south of France. Lately, I've been wanting to go to Portugal as well.
Oh, nice.
I've kind of avoided that end of the peninsula in Western Europe. And then I'd love to visit essentially the UK, England,
Okay.
Scotland, Wales.
That'd be.
I've never landed.
Sick, I'm just thinking about it. Like it'd be sick.
There's a lot there. I did have a trip canceled to Italy. I should be there right now actually.
Mm.
It was going to be a photography workshop. Funny enough.
Well, see, that's cool to hear because it's like you're still trying to pursue not only your traveling but photography wise. Like you're trying to learn and you're going to a different country to do it. Like that's cool. You're really taking this serious on this craft, but it's cool as well, man. I didn't realize how much of a journeyman you were, like going to Europe and stuff. So it seems like once this pandemic kind of slows down, like you're gonna definitely go back.
I can't wait.
Yeah, and I think you definitely like the world is yours when it comes to photography because it's like you can pretty much snap anything and focus really on anything. So, is there something that camera wise? So I wanted to talk about that. So, was there something about photography that before we get into cameras, I guess? What got you so attracted to doing photography? What was it? Just traveling?
Well, no, it was. I'd always had a fascination with photography, cameras. Never dipped my toe in it.
Mm-hmm.
My dad had a few cameras, but I never really touched it.
Oh, really? Okay.
It wasn't until my younger sister, she started her blogging and influencing stuff. She started asking me to take some photos with her camera.
Okay.
And she said I had a really good eye, and she said I felt like I was a natural at doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was really on my radar as something that, hey, this could be a cool hobby to do, and also a challenging one.
Yeah.
Where you learn and can really be creative. At the same time, I'd gotten out of a bad relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and I just kept putting off life.
Yeah.
And I got tired, and and I consider myself a blessed man because I can take off and go, dick around when I want to.
Yeah, for sure.
And not everyone can do that with me.
Mm-hmm.
I understand. So I got out of this bad relationship, and I was like, I'm tired of waiting on life to catch up with me. I set some goals, and one of the goals was to travel more and to buy a camera.
Mm.
So I booked a trip to Amsterdam with a couple friends.
That's dope.
And then I, research. And up until that point, I'd been researching cameras for months, and then finally pulled the trigger and went and invested in one, bought one.
Wow. So I mean, this was like not only just buying a camera. This was like a whole life transition of like, this is what you want to do, and you reached a goal, and you were like, I'm about to do the damn thing. So I mean, that's great to hear, because I mean, I'm friends with you. I know like AJ and you are super close. I still get to know you, you know, even when on this podcast, but I didn't realize how much of that affected almost part of your life and a journey. So that's pretty impressive. I mean, I've gone. I think that's kind of what I'm doing with this podcast. What I've done with different things, like this past year, Leo Weekly, where I was working, they actually just went up for sale. Aaron Yarmouth selling the paper. I haven't really talked to anybody there in a while, but I have a friend that just left there. Actually, that's probably the only person I've talked to recently, and it's not really. There's nobody really there anymore. And she's heading out to a new job, but they're selling it. I have nothing bad to say. I've had a great run there. It was awesome, and I got to do a lot of fun stuff. But when they let me go because of COVID, I kind of had the same experience of a life transformation. Of I was kind of unemployed besides doing my part-time job, which I still am. But I'm doing the school with the real estate. I'm also. That's when I really started doing my notary series.
You are a man of many talents.
Huh? Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Started doing my eBay store. Really started just becoming independent, trying to jump on any operation, any little side gig. And so I'm just a hustler. I'm a natural-born hustler. That's what I like to do. And I think it's like I'm really excited for this summer to see what can happen. But I definitely felt like a really strong journey in this past year of just like, I don't know, just a lot of good stuff. I've relieved a lot of stress. I've cleared my head. I'm still learning. I'm still improving. There's some things that I'm still working on, and I got goals and things I need to knock out. But at the same time, I feel good. I feel great from a mental standpoint, a health standpoint, a physical standpoint, and it's like. I like to kind of top off what you said is like I really do count my blessed as well. I'm very blessed. I'm very thankful, not only for like doing this kind of thing, but just life in general and the situations. It's been a good life, and I'm hoping to live a long life, and I'm really thankful. So I'm excited to see what the future holds, and I feel free right now. So if that makes sense. Like I feel freer now that I'm not at a full-time gig, and I'm kind of being able to choose what I can really focus on. I know eventually I'm going to have to hammer down and do something full-time, but I'm feeling like doing this podcast, it's just, I don't know, man. I just feel laid back now.
Life is movement.
Mm-hmm. It is, big time.
And,
it's about like energy.
It really is. And it's what you make it. No one's going to do it for you. And and
that's the biggest thing people don't realize. Wow, say it again.
Life is what you make it,
and people
and
nobody will do it.
Nobody's going to do it for you.
Here's the thing. This is the craziest thing that I think bothers people, and I'm not trying to trigger anybody's anxiety. I think about it. I think we all have thought about it at some point in our life. But you saying that, something that can capitalize off that is as much as we don't want to, we all depend on somebody in some aspect. I mean, to get something out of things, but there's some times in life where you only can control that, and you might feel super alone and like feel. I've felt that way where you're just like, man, how can I solve this? Like I'm having but I don't. Should I reach out? You have this back and forth, but it's like. Sometimes it is about how you control it and how you do it. And it's hard sometimes. Like, it's hard to maybe change something or mold something or, hey, mentally I want to do it this way or adjust it this way. So, I just feel like a lot of times people don't realize, like, you really do have to sometimes, like, just take control. And it might be hard and it might be a rocky road, but you gotta take control. And I mean, I think it was cool that you were feeling like pretty much shit, and now you feel great because you're like, I explored and did this thing. I mean, I've been there. I felt like shit after a situation. You're just kind of like, dude, literally, like, after I got out of a bad relationship a few years ago, I felt like a blah. I'm like, what am I doing? What do I want to do? And it's like, I started traveling, doing things. I went on a little road trip myself through a bunch of states, so I totally get that, dude.
Part of it's like I
respect that, bro.
A midlife crisis almost. I was around getting to the age of 30, and all these things I thought I would do with like, my free time, I wasn't doing. I was wasting it. And it was actually a really interesting point because, I used to be like super into sports.
Yeah.
And I'd watch, Tuesday night college basketball, Wednesday night basketball.
Oh, because I'll talk
Thursday
to you
night
still about Kentucky
football.
Athletics, and I'll talk to you about
Friday
other
night
sports.
Football.
Yeah.
Saturday, college basketball, college football. And so I realized how much time I was spending on the couch, like not really doing anything productive and living life. And it's not just sports.
You kind of have the
That's
same
just like a
mindset
one
as
little
me.
part
You
of
want
it.
to do something creative. You wanting to.
I felt like life was passing me by, and I not that there's anything wrong with sports. To me, it's very reminiscent of Rome's Colosseum. It's blood sport. It's a distraction. Not that there's anything wrong with it. We all need a distraction, but I realized I was being distracted from like just doing things that I've always said I wanted to do. And when 30 hit, like 30 on the horizon, I was like, fuck, like I'm not really like, doing things that are making me happy.
And I think that's interesting. Like, I love sports. I couldn't live without sports, but
There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, nothing wrong with it.
Like,
but also too, I definitely do a bunch of different other things in my life. It's not all I think about or care about. And also too, on your phone, you can check the score while doing this, while doing that, and it's like,
But see, I'm an all or nothing guy.
No, and I feel that. But it's just like the thing about it is, you're totally right. Like, it's hard to, you get stuck into something or you get stuck into a habit. That's a big thing where that's where me and you can relate. A lot of people over the years were like, you should do a podcast, Eric. You should do a podcast. I was fucking bullshitting, man. Like, it wasn't that I wasn't happy with life, but I was going through shit at some points, but also too, I was just like grinding, and I'm like focused on other things and having fun, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm still young. I just started. It's going great, so I'm happy. I'm blessed. But knock on some fucking wood.
Absolutely.
But it's like, but it's like the thing about it is like there's some wood there. Yep. So the thing about it is like I got stuck in a thing where I was like, yeah, podcast coming soon. I've never been that person. And I'm not a judging person at all. But I've judged people all my life that have been full of shit. And the one thing I've taken pride in myself, there's many things, but the one big thing is I'm a real motherfucker. And a lot of rappers like to say that, a lot of people I listen to, actors, people in general like to say they're real. I'm a real motherfucker. You get what you get, and I keep it fucking 100. And the thing about it is, the big thing about doing that and keeping it real is that sometimes it's one of those situations where, I don't know, like, I just start,
I think that, it's all, like we go back to life is movement.
Yeah.
When you feel like you're stuck, it's time to move.
Yeah.
It's not. It could be anything. Like, you wanted to get creative,
and I think that's what I think I was like. But I think I was at a point where I was bullshitting. Like, that whole pride of me keeping it real, I was bullshitting. Like, I literally was bullshitting from the standpoint of, like, yeah, I'm gonna do this podcast. It's coming soon. I look back on that and I'm like, that's cringy.
Yeah.
And it's like, now I'm like, I'm doing it, and that's why I'm proud of it, and I talk about it, and I post it everywhere, because, and I don't give a fuck. People can hate, fuck you. If you hate on this podcast, suck my dick. Sorry. If you love it, thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. It's just, at the end of the day, this is something I'm taking pride in. This is something I'm fucking grabbing by the reins, and I'm taking off with it, and I'm fucking ready, and I'm hoping there's nothing but positivity that comes with it, and I'm excited about this journey. So
we're on similar paths.
I think we are, but I look back on this journey of how I've gotten here just with the podcast, and it's like, man, I was really bullshit. But I'm glad that I finally was like, let's do this thing. And then I did the same shit as you, dude. I was like, I'm ordering all this fucking podcast equipment. Spent all this money, ordered it, I was like, am I doing it? Should I be doing this? Like, should I do this? And then I was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm doing this. Like, at that point, like, I didn't have a job. I'm just doing my thing. And I'm like, you know what? I'm doing it.
But isn't it nice to call yourself out on your own bullshit?
It's nice to call myself out.
So like you ordered all that stuff, so you called yourself out. And
yeah.
You actually did it.
Yeah, and also, too, it builds nothing but confidence. And I like I said earlier, I have self-confidence. I'm proud of my achievements. I live on my own. I pay my own bills. Like, I do my own thing. It's something that I'm very proud of. A lot of people can't say they can do that, especially during this situation. And that's another blessing that I'm thankful for every day, that I find a way to survive. And it's like, it's fun to reflect back, talking about journeys on looking back, seeing what life's about, and being like, you know what, like, man, I came a long way from this person, or I really like that person I was, but I needed to change to this person, so I totally think we're on the same wavelength when it comes to those situations. Do you feel like, camera wise, what is the go-to camera what did you buy as a starter camera, and like what would you recommend to somebody that wants to get into photography for themselves, no matter what they want to shoot?
So that's a tough question in regards to what camera should someone start with.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to do this.
Yeah.
And so I definitely knew I wanted a camera. First off, I wanted a full frame camera.
Mm.
So
explain that.
So in photography, it's all based off the size of your sensor that's in the camera. Full frame, 35 millimeter, I believe. I'm not 100% sure. I believe, but it's the full frame sensor that's in there.
Mm-hmm.
They have APS-C format, which is a compact, so it's a smaller sensor.
Mm-hmm.
So that means you have to adjust your photography a little bit if you shoot with it, but it's easier to travel with, more compact, they weigh less.
Mm-hmm.
Photography's changed dramatically with the advent of digital cameras.
Really?
So there's also analog, which traditionally uses film. There are a lot of film photographers out there that I follow on Instagram that are extremely talented,
mm-hmm.
and that is a pure art form.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually something I'm very interested in doing now, because I decided to start with digital.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier than when you have a computer chip in there that helps you autofocus and so forth.
And to think about it, I mean, I can't believe how many different cameras I've probably used over the years, digitally wise and stuff like that.
They come a long way.
It's came a long way.
And so at the time, I was looking at some, Canon, Nikon, and Sony.
Mm-hmm.
And Canon's probably the most used one.
Yeah.
Nikon not far behind. And they were very famous for creating the DSLRs. DSLRs are very great cameras. They've been around for a very long time,
mm-hmm.
but they were bulky and heavy, and that's because they had this giant ass mirror on the inside.
And is this what people were using on big shoots?
Yeah.
And so they probably, I know they had to get used to it and get adjusted to it, but it's like, is that the only option?
At the time, a few years ago, yes.
Wow.
But they were the best cameras out there too.
Mm.
That was the tech at the time. But they kind of had gone the way their natural path was.
Yeah.
And then Sony figured out a way to make mirrorless cameras. So they were able to take this mirror out, which dramatically cut down on size, weight, while still giving you a full frame sensor.
Ooh, okay.
And so they were a couple of years ahead of Canon and Nikon, which means they also had a lot more glass, aka the lenses. So that's the one thing when you're going to be buying a camera is it's less about the camera, more about the glass and the lens that you're using.
And see, that's probably something a lot of people don't know. I'm glad you said that, because it's more people are like looking at the brand or the look or like the size. Right. It's like it's actually about the glass.
If you have really nice lens, it's gonna make a world of difference.
Because in all reality, all we're doing is holding the camera. We're using our eye with the lens and pressing the button. It's like that's the main thing you're using, so it's like people should focus on that. That's important to say.
It was a little intimidating because I kind of like learned from scratch. So, Sony had this brand new mirrorless. They were ahead of Canon and Nikon by a couple years. They had more lens and different, a lot more glass and range to choose from a mirrorless standpoint, not from the previous ones, because they had a monster catalog of lenses on the DSLRs. But it felt like new. It felt like where the technology was going, and I ponied up a pretty penny for mine. I bought a Sony A7 III.
Okay.
And that's kind of their flagship mirrorless camera, full frame. I debated between that and their compact APS-C format with the smaller lens, because again I was trying to combine it with traveling. But my heart was, dead set on full frame, and this seemed like a great thing. So I bought the camera with just the kit lens. The way, the millimeters work is the smaller the millimeter, the wider the angle. And so I had this, I believe it was 28 to 75 millimeter. So it was a nice zoom lens. Gave you a good range of, it gave you a good range from being zoomed in on the subject to backing it out towards a wider angle.
Gotcha.
And I definitely recommend some type of multi-purpose zoom lens to start off with. And it was nice the Sony that I bought came with a kit lens in that range, because it just gives you a little bit more freedom as a beginner to learn the craft of taking a photograph, and it's very, very different on the analog side. But the digital side, it was something I really wanted to learn.
Now with cameras, what's the deal with cases? How much would a camera case cost you just to store your cameras? Do they usually come with the camera? So
usually it doesn't come with it'll come with a sort of bag, but not one that you can really carry around. A good bag to carry your stuff in. It's not too expensive, but you want to make sure you have something that works really well for you. And for me, like right now, I've got one that goes across. It's a crossbody, but I can't switch sides. And so I've got a big 70 to 200 millimeter zoom lens that's heavy and big, combined with the camera and the other lens I have. It's a wide angle.
So that shoulder's getting work.
It's getting a lot of work, and it's sore. And you walk around Tokyo, walking 21 miles with that, you're going to be hurting later that night.
Yeah.
But so everyone, you want to get a good bag to store it in, and one that's I don't want to say ergonomic. What's the word I'm looking for? That's it just
works for you. Yeah, because there's going to be different experiences you're going to be doing, and is there, I guess, it's probably a dumb question, but cases that are waterproof and stuff like that?
They have those. A lot of these cameras today, they'll say they're water sealed.
Yeah.
And I just try not to get mine that wet. A lot of people, they go buck wild, and they'll be out in a rainstorm with one.
Yeah.
I'm just I'm not there yet in comfort.
No, I totally get that. Yeah. And now, would you ever like to do underwater photos?
I've thought about it. There are some really cool things you can do with that, but I've thought about buying the case for it. It's not cheap, but it's definitely something that. Here's the thing: most of my travels have been citywide, so I haven't needed it. But then again, I'm definitely missing a beach, and there's a lot of exotic places I'd love to go. So maybe if I change it up in the future, it's definitely on my radar.
So what's your, we've talked about this before, what's your ideas on contests and entering those and taking part? Are you ever going to want to do that?
Here's the thing, I love taking photographs. I wish I had more time to dedicate to it. I really don't get to spend that much time a week behind the shutter. Last 6 months I've been, moving, getting settled in a house. So I don't have a ton of time for that. But even with a full-time job, you do this podcast on the side. You just have to make a commitment to do it. But I'm a harsh critic because I don't feel like I'm experienced enough or good enough to enter into.
But I really do disagree with that. I really think you. No, I'm not bullshitting you, man. Like you got this. You got a good eye. These pictures are good, and I'm gonna keep sending you links when I see contests and everything. And I think you even should submit older stuff. But the thing that I think would be cool for you, especially with photography, is not only someone start, I know like events and modeling, and there's all these there's tons of opportunities with photography. I mean, it's going to be around forever. But the thing about it is, you could not only get published in magazines, papers, places like that. That's what's great about the world today is like one picture can be posted multiple places. One picture can be shared this way, or somebody can buy this and give you money for something that you created with a photo. Like that's the coolest thing. I can take a picture of this mountain. I don't own that mountain. That mountain's fucking huge. I literally just snap this thing and I sell it to the fucking, Chicago Sun, and they give me $1,000 for this mountain. It's like that shit can happen.
It's funny you say that because I'm so there is an app out there. It's a platform called Unsplash.
Unsplash. UNSPLAS.
And I heard it from our friend AJ's brother Jeff.
Okay, shout out to Jeff Thomas.
Shout out.
Yeah, Jeff Thomas, want to shout you out, but I also want to tell you, Souls of Isaac's the game we play. You're going down next time. So are you, AJ and Harold. Just want to address that. Also, Jeff's lady. I'm going blank on the name. Audra. Shout out to Audra as well. You're going down as well. So I will be winning, and I'll have the most pennies. But go ahead, Harold.
Not if I have something to say about it. Unsplash, great platform. I'm very new to it. Jeff told me about it because he works in building marketing stuff for
El Toro,
digital,
right?
Digital online.
Yes. Shout out to El Toro. I've actually been to Jeff's office. It was kind of cool. I popped in once with Leo, and I look over and there's Jeff, and I was like, "Actually, there's your brother, dude." And I was like,
great surprise.
And I see Jeff's boss. And I'm like, "Can I go talk to Jeff?" And the guy was like, "Yeah, you're more than welcome to." And I'm like, "Hey, what's up, Jeff?" And this is before Jeff and I had like really started playing board games, and I got to know more. So he's probably like, "Oh, there's fucking AJ's buddy." I'm like, "What's up, dude?" Like, but it was cool. Jeff was super cool, but like, he's in a whole new office now with El Toro. They moved to a new location, but they were downtown on the waterfront. Fucking dope ass spot. Like, parking was cool, right on the waterfront. Food trucks everywhere. So, not only was he working out, he didn't have anything to do with this, but while he was working at El Toro, Mark Jurich, Tom Jurich's son, the AD that was fired from U of L for the Rick Pitino scandal. Basically, his son, Mark Jurich, was a star baseball player at U of L. Well, he runs like a sports marketing agency, I think, through El Toro, like, building at that time. I don't know if they're still in the same building. But another thing about El Toro, they had a bar upstairs. And
I heard it was nice.
It was one of the biggest bourbon collections in the host state, and it was impressive. And, like, having a drink up there, checking it out, they get break time. So Jeff's in a really good company. I think he, last time I talked to him, he seemed happy about it. So, shout out to Jeff Thomas. But anyways,
so he gave me the heads up on that Unsplash.
Oh yeah, let's back to Unsplash. That's what I was about to say. So the app though, when you heard about it, how excited did you get? Because I mean, it sounds like something up your alley.
It sounded very much up my alley. It's a photo, high definition photography, photo submission, or you can just create a profile and like and collect photos. It's completely open source.
Okay.
So this was definitely a distinct decision I made to do with at least the photos I submit on to Unsplash. They're free for anyone to download and use. And people at companies like Jeff's that do digital marketing and so forth can use this as a resource to dip into to use for almost any advertisement or project or whatever. It's no longer your property, essentially.
For sure.
I like giving back to the world. I've always viewed photography as me giving back to the world.
I respect that.
So
that's what I say. That's what I say about this podcast: is putting content out. Yeah.
And so,
to the
but
world.
you could definitely. And so I decided to start putting on some photos, and I was really surprised. a great number of them got picked up by the editorial team, and they decided to post them to the editorial feed, and they got tons of views, tons of likes and downloads. It's only been, I haven't really posted anything within the last maybe like 2-3 weeks. But there was, for 30 days I was, hitting it pretty hard. And I think right now, let's just say 60 days, I've got nearly 9.5 million views.
Oh my gosh.
So that's just views. People have seen it, and that makes me feel warm. That's humongous, brother. Because that's me sharing, the beauty of creation with my photos, the beauty of the world around us.
Is this an app that you would recommend for anyone?
Yes. You don't have to be on a marketing team or digital advertising it's a great tool for people to use.
And it's pretty much like if
you can download it and use it as a wallpaper.
Yeah, and if you got good photos, you're gonna get views like you're getting. And so it's kind of pretty much, it's like, yeah, anybody can use it. It's just what are you going to put up there, and is it going to be people reacting that way?
And since this experience, it's kind of changed my mind a little bit around, because I have submitted these photos. So I'm wondering if, to feed off you, if, maybe I could, submit to some national contests or something like that. It'd be a cool experience. The one thing I'd like to give a caveat about photography is, I know probably a lot of people listening at home are used to what they see on Instagram. I just want people at home to realize that a lot of photography, especially on Instagram, are highly edited photos.
Really?
So I personally use Adobe Lightroom to edit my photos. Sometimes it's a creative decision to really
I understand.
alter it.
I definitely know editing from the standpoint of I've known a lot of college students when I went to art college, they did photography and they did a lot of edits and stuff. When I say really, I know people are always editing their picture using filters every day,
right.
But that it is kind of interesting to hear that photographers are doing as well when they're posting on social media. Do people still post anything raw with photos, from a photography standpoint?
There's a lot of guys that they'll post before and afters. So they'll post the raw photo and then the after final edited version, and they can be extremely dramatic.
Really,
you can take almost the shittiest photo ever, and at least with Lightroom, and there's other ones out there that you can download on the App Store, but Adobe's is comprehensive for photographers. And there's other ones too that are really, really good. You can take the shittiest photo and turn it into a masterpiece sometimes. So
that's incredible.
Just that's the little
that's the world
secret
we're in now.
behind
that's the technology.
Yeah,
and it's super cool. That's why I'm ready for all this technology. I love it. I know there's probably bad technology, but it's I love how photography and how we can save things, remember things, and I've said this on a lot of episodes. Legacy is very important to me, and I think that's pretty much everyone's legacy is part of photography. People don't realize, people hate on social media and all this sort of stuff, but the photos are what it's about, because you could take 1 billion photos of somewhere and maybe not look at them again or something, but it's you're making memories with them. You're getting that image saved. When a photo's taken of you, it's it's here forever in some aspect, and it's kind of neat. While the world's around.
And that's the funny thing is I hate photos of myself.
So
I very much enjoy being on the other side.
Photographers are like that. Yeah, there's some that will do the self images or even pose with their model or pose with try to get in the scene of maybe the landscape or the thing they're on, but it's you're camera shy, and I've heard others are like that in this situation, but there's nothing wrong with that. You are happy with what you're putting out, and it's even if it's not yourself, that's your photo. Harold, I want to tell you, I really appreciate you coming on this episode of Vibing With Sleezy, the podcast.
Thanks for
you have been an awesome guest. I've always wanted to dive into photography and cameras. Antonio Pantoa was somebody that Josh Jolly, one of my supporters, buddies, and listeners, he's also a fellow podcaster. He recommended Antonio, and I was like, yeah, I know Antonio, so I definitely need to reach out to him. But I wanted to have you on because you've had a lot of interesting journeys. I wanted to talk about Japan, which I can't thank you enough for sharing all the content and information about it, because I think that was really interesting, and it's definitely going to be good for people that want to travel there or just learn about the culture. It's good to learn about other cultures. That's something everybody around the world should do. If people want to follow like your Unsplash or your Instagram, like share your stuff, plug your stuff.
Real easy. Handle is just my name, Harold Wainwright.
Spell your last name.
WAINWRIGHT.
Harold Wainwright, yes. So follow on Instagram. He's got his photos. He's using the Unsplash. Definitely support him. Hopefully these photos will keep doing well for him. Harold has a great career. Harold's very smart. He's doing some big things. But this is a hobby. But he's interested. He's passionate. I knew he would definitely share some good stuff. So I want to thank everybody for listening to Vibing with Sleezy, the podcast. Again, it's made it now to 4 continents. You can follow me at Vibing with Sleezy the podcast at Instagram. You can reach out to me at Vibing with Sleezy the podcast, Vibing with Sleezy at gmail.com. But Vibing with Sleezy the podcast, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. You can reach out to me as well if you ever want to snap me. I'll put that out. I've never have. That's at Sleezy89. So, but anytime, you want to shoot fan mail, you want to shoot suggestions, any recommendations, I'm always open to it. I appreciate everyone that's shown love and continues to download this show. I got some great guests coming up. I'm going to be basically doing season 1 up to 21 episodes, and then I'll be dropping season 2 again later in the summer and diving into the fall. So we got some big stuff coming here, and when I say we, I mean me. But Vibing with Sleezy the podcast is episode 14, and we are out. Peace.